Got it. Okay, we are now live. Hello and welcome to After Valentine's Day meeting. Let's see. Okay. I can kick us off with some of the announcements, and then do we want to take it just line item by line item as always? Okay, cool. If you see my dog, he does have a fancy Valentine's Day scarf that I have not taken off of him. So if he looks like very melancholy and just ornery, that's why. Yeah, he's giving me like a weird eye. I updated the category direction, had it reviewed with Derek. So please take a look. Let me know if you have any questions, if anything is like a huge surprise. It's in like I did not know that this was like what we're working on. It doesn't have the full end-to-end roadmap that's still being solidified as we're finishing up OKRs within the product tiers, as in like when my boss's boss does the OKRs, then it kind of cascades down. So Maverick and I are hoping to get those done sooner than later once we kind of get the official stable ones from up above. Um, one more thing, I guess I have a couple of announcements. Just as an FYI, if you see any internal messaging around the JetBrains plugin, this was before my time. Chatted with Kai about this and like the history behind it, but I understand that basically a path can be exfiltrated and seen by other plugins. So internally, the messaging is make sure you have any kind of read-only scope. We have our protected legal messaging on the marketplace listing, so that's set. So this is more of like an FYI. If you see it internally, don't be surprised. And it does not influence our AI features. It's just they're defaulting to the AI scope because that's like a very simple read-only scope that they have, and they also need it to use code suggestions and anything within the Duo Pro. So that's been like the messaging that they've been giving out internally. And then thank you so much for everybody jumping in. I know this was kind of like a weird time and there was a kind of a lot of back and forth, but I think as far as a release day, anytime today will be kind of like our goal. I think we've already hit it for the most part, but just want to say a huge thank you. I know we have a lot of different priorities, and this was kind of more of like a, hey, let's make sure this all works. I'm sure we'll have some more follow-up things that we'll need to like solve from it, but thank you so much, and you guys did a great job. Yeah, and so we can add on status and get that cash money. Yay. And once I find the Tableau dashboard, since we're migrating things from Periscope, I'll post it so that at least we can have a good visibility of like what are the add-ons bringing. And then, yeah, it's a fun fact. Cool. And from that, I'm going to take a breath, drink my coffee, and pass it on to Maverick.
Hello, team. How's everybody doing today? Just a couple of announcements. We will have a couple of new team members joining us. One at the end of the month and another one who just accepted our offer today. So we'll have some more TypeScript and Lua support. And we'll also have, I think, more of a generalist. So more to come on that. I can't say anything until we've officially checked all of the references and things like that, but we'll definitely have 2 new team members joining soon. The next bit is interview training. The team is expanding, and I want you to be a part of who we choose to join the team so that we can start to make sure that we're looking for the right both characteristics and obviously talent to help complement the cool talent that we already have. So I'll send some information out so that everyone on our team is trained for interviews so that you can shadow and you can be a part of the decision of shaping the team. And finally, there is one more bit. Hold on. I haven't done it yet. A second. There is another piece of training that we have to do. I think it's called safe training. I'll put our names in it, but if everyone can get that done by This is kind of last minute. But let's see if we can get that done by tomorrow, by end of day. Usually I'll have a little bit more time, but I don't know where that went in my inbox. So my apologies to you. Let's see if we can get that safe training done by tomorrow, end of day. And those are all of my announcements. So let's start the discussion series and take it away, Tristan.
He's sleeping. So
Don't take it away, Tristan. Enjoy your
um,
sleep. Hold on a second. So what is next? I do need to get kind of comfortable with the way that this works. What happens now? Do we all give updates? What happens now?
I think just continue our discussion, and then I think what Tristan posted is kind of like the root of the problem. As in, he's not present a lot of the times because he's, at this time he's sleeping. And so if we can have an APAC time,
Okay.
I feel like I'd love to hear from everybody else around the world, because I know that at least Amy, Dylan, myself, and Maverick are on PST. And so we have an overlap with Tristan, but the rest of the team does not as much as we do. So I'd like to leave it up to everybody else to see like how would you like it done and what's a good idea.
Yeah, I'm pretty flexible. I usually work pretty late at night, so I don't mind hitting that APAC time zone.
Okay.
Most of the last team I was on, we had meetings at 1 a.m. for me, and that was still fine. I'd prefer if it was a little bit maybe earlier in the evening, but I'm pretty, yeah, like I said, pretty flexible.
Any other thoughts?
The technical writing team has a set of 3 times that we rotate through, and each time gets 2 of the 3 regions. And it's good for encouraging people to take really good notes, because you know that 1 out of 3 you're going to miss
Mhm.
unless, you have work-life balance problems. So I would be in favor of that. I'm used to it. I'd also love to make Tuesday and Thursday mornings a little less meeting heavy for me.
Okay. Okay. So how about I propose this? Effective next week, we'll have 2 sessions on Thursdays, and the one that you can attend is the one that you can attend, but hopefully some of us can also attend the one with Tristan and team. But starting next Thursday, we'll have 2 sessions, and you can select which session you attend. And let's see how that works. Yeah, let's see how that works. How does that sound to everyone?
Do we want to do a poll to
Yeah.
see like which one people would fall into, and then I hate to say like find an uncomfortable time for everybody, but it's more of a how can we kind of have a camaraderie around the time, even if it's just like once every 2 weeks. But
Yeah.
Maverick, what do you think about doing a poll and then being like, which one would you want to do, or what's a
Yeah, I think that we can do a poll to determine if we can do 2 sessions or twice a month. That also sounds good. We all take one for our team member and just get up with our little coffee and join him at least twice a month. We can do that as well, so that we don't have to meet twice, or I don't have to meet 2 times. But yeah, we can take a poll, or we can decide that we can do 2 that are more suitable to work with a different time zone twice a month, and then we can maintain this one twice a month.
I have a quick question. If we would have 2 meetings in the same day, let's say a person would attend both of them,
Oh,
you would have the same updates, right? Like if you would attend both of them. So it wouldn't make sense, right, to attend both of them.
yeah, you don't have to attend both of them. I'm trying to not have Dylan be up at 1 a.m. If possible. But it sounds like it might be better to just alternate. Meaning, twice a month we do this time, and twice a month we do the other time. And those who cannot attend can do async. This way we can all at least be a team together, and we won't have to do 2 different meetings. Does that sound better?
I think so. I think it's also something that we can just experiment with. We try it
Yeah,
how
yeah.
it is, and then if it doesn't work out, we try something else.
All right. So we'll try next week. I'll schedule a very special session. So have your coffee ready and your sunglasses ready. Sunglasses are allowed during special sessions. By the way, you won't think anything is wrong with you having sunglasses on if it's 1 a.m. for you. So there you go.
Can I wear my blue light blocker glasses?
This is a safe space. Yes.
I also
I
I'm
look-
curious to see which ones you use because it's like blue light that's in these. I don't know if it's doing much.
The ones I have, they look very dorky, to be honest. Like they make my like they're completely orange, kind of the color that you can actually see, and I look very funny in them. Like you cannot take me seriously with those. That's the problem.
We would still take you very seriously. So if you want to wear them, safe space.
Got it. All right. So we'll try a new thing next week. So Lena, you're up next.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to check what are our priorities for the new milestone. So specifically VS Code extension language server, because I'm working on them, but I guess maybe the rest as well.
Great question. I'm going to hand it over to our amazing senior product manager.
Amazing's a loose word. Still
Amazing is
trying
the
to,
word.
still welcome to anything that kind of slips through. But so in our planning piece, so something that Maverick and I are trying to do is being a lot more precise with the things that we're going to deliver, and then so that we don't have any issues that are rolling over. Just because maybe we didn't prune enough or have like a very concise book of work. So I think from the VS Code side, we have the streaming telemetry that I know Thomas is working on, but he's also working on cells, which is a pretty big effort. So if those two things are taken care of, I'd like to expand into the actual telemetry implementation, which I think will be a result of the spike. But one of our stretch goals is how can we start chipping away at this token authentication failures? So I listed the epic that we have in the milestone with one of the stories, but if there's an issue that you feel like this will be a higher value and this will take care of it sooner, you have a better eye than I do, and please pick up one of those. But it's more of like, how can we make sure the pieces that we need to deliver are being delivered first, and then we can expand out. But let me also take a look and expand more into the VS Code language server territory and add it to kind of like our stretch goal section. So I do just want to make sure with Summit and everything else, we're taking care of like the top.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
So for that, Dasha, will you be able to, well, you and I talk all the time. So hopefully you'll have like a top 3 or top 4 or top 5 bits that we need to just focus on and work on. And I'm sure you're going to communicate that to the team once you know.
Yeah. And I think one thing that with this that's tricky is, Lena, you know the language server way more than I ever could. So there's pieces in it that I know are probably maybe bugging you, maybe because they are bugs. And if there's something that you think we need to take care of and has definitely slipped under the radar, Aaron's been really vocal about that, which has been great. Please just like put it in the forefront and we'll take care of that and like make sure that's a priority.
Okay, okay.
Who's up next?
So Maverick and I were chatting about, hey, so we have these dates, a PCL, if you will, for Summit, since most of the company will be there. And since we do not rely on that same cadence, we wanted to know, how do we feel about releasing through the Summit? We do have a specific date that I'm not going to mention on the public stream, but as far as like we do have specific dates we have to hit for chat, and I'm wondering, how do we want to handle it? This might be a broader conversation of how do we want to even have any kind of code freezes. yep, just opening it up to the team, seeing what everybody else thinks.
I was thinking that for JetBrains, we would maybe release before Summit, like the week before. And I was hoping to target code complete 2 weeks before Summit. And then we'd have that final week where we can do the final testing and prepare the release.
Okay, other thoughts as well on cadence and release dates? Thanks for that, Ali. That sounds reasonable. Any other thoughts and why? So when you do share, why? Any other thoughts on cadence, when things should be released?
I mean, I think ideally we should release when we're ready, you know,
Mhm.
so we don't, we're just like, hey, this feature's done,
Right.
cut a new version and go. That gives us feedback quicker than we're waiting around and no one's yet. So, as far as specifically the JetBrains chat feature, I think that we had planned on having this finished in a space before Summit, so
Mhm.
that we had enough time to test. Ali, I think we can still hit that. I don't think that we're under a crunch there. Is there any other upcoming releases that we're kind of worried about as like falling into the Summit territory?
I was hoping, well, I'm trying everything I can do to maybe prevent any surprises, or if there are any surprises, or like, we need to do this, it's kind of like pushing back and kind of understanding more of the why, and if we can maybe not do a knee-jerk reaction that might just solve
Right.
itself, if that makes a lot of sense. So I'm trying to prevent us from having any surprises, as in like what we know today should be what we go with. But I think it's more of like, I'd like to have this conversation also as a broader in the future. Like if we have any of these things, how do we want to handle it? Or are we good with the way we're handling it now, since you already have a plan and the team buy-in? I'm doing a lot of this morning, so apologies.
I mean,
Yeah.
is there an option of saying, hey, we won't release chat till after Summit?
No, there's
We-
no option for that.
mean,
So then
I looked under the
what are we
table
talking
for that
could.
too. I looked under the table for that option.
Yeah.
I looked everywhere.
Because
Oh.
if that's not an option, then the goal is we release as soon as possible, so that we have enough time to test before then.
Agreed. I agree with you, John. And I also want us to keep our momentum.
Mhm.
I know that, there's a broad code freeze.
Mhm.
But, our team, at the end of the day, we're the gateway to everything that's GitLab through our extensions.
Mhm.
So we're kind of we're different. And so we've got to keep our momentum. And we're not subject to freezes, but with that being said, let's be thorough. Let's focus on making sure that we get what we said we would delivered and nothing more, but also making sure that those things are vetted. Does that make sense?
Makes sense to me. Yeah. I think in general, we should be very wary of, large blackouts where we're not going to be available.
Yeah.
And ideally, we schedule releases for, give us time, hopefully we have some time after a release where we can wait to see, hey, is this quieting down? Or has there been we don't want to release on a Friday right before we're all going to be gone for a week.
And I also want to put a caveat on that. We're froze for any new features, meaning if it's a brand new feature and no one's ever looked at it, yeah, we're frozen for those. But I don't think that there are any brand new features that Dasha has that she's gonna like give you tomorrow. I think everything is pretty clear. We just have to get it organized and share it. But at the end of the day, we're not going to take on new features during and know with the knowledge that we won't be able to really support anything when we're gone. But other than that, I think we need to keep our momentum going and just pretend that there isn't a freeze in some ways.
I think John brings up a good point that we want to try and release JetBrains chat as early as possible in case there is any follow-up work that we need to do. Like we
Makes
don't want
sense.
to sit out of Summit for a while we're working on a bug fix, for example. So that's a good point.
Cool. Anything else? All right, what's our next question?
It's for me again. This
Hey.
should be a quick one because I do want to get to the other two. Duo chat beta testing, beta loosely worded here. So I was thinking of engaging with the solution architects again next week after we kind of have this week as in, hey, we had the release, making sure code suggestions paid works fine. So we can focus on that. What do we have left to do for Duo chat to be in a user's hands?
We're talking about JetBrains, right?
Yes. Just JetBrains. What, Visual Studio's not there?
Don't
What?
scare me.
Where's NeoVim? Just kidding.
I think is Aaron on the call? No?
I am.
Yes, okay. Yeah, I think Aaron had some GraphQL work that we were hoping to get through. I probably have a bit more bandwidth for reviews now that the 215 stuff is done, so I'll be looking at some of those MRs, but I'll let you explain what's going on there, Aaron.
Well, yeah, sorry, I'm trying to collect a list of MRs. So for myself, with the GraphQL stuff, the subscription piece seems to be working now. I would love to get some more testing around that, but I've already I do have like integration test coverage that I've added, and I would like to talk to probably Ali around getting that enabled. I see that we have an end-to-end suite, so technically I could run it under the end-to-end suite. And what it's doing though essentially is it reaches out to the GraphQL API. If you give it a valid token, it then tests what happens with subscriptions. So potential test gaps I would like for the review on the subscriptions. But Shakar jumped in and we paired on introducing chats using queries and the query. So there's a query right now you can ask for giving all chat messages. And so Shakar started the implementation of that. So he will call the chat controller from John, and that we'll update the view based on that query then, as well as the mutation that I wrote. So Shakar was able to tie that together with the app as well. So that sends a request, and then once that is there, it knows the request ID. So then you can do an additional request with the request IDs. So instead of loading all of the history in one go, the next time you can request only the additional updates. That has issues if you're on GitLab.com and on your editor, because then you could potentially miss responses. But I think that's like a good stopgap solution if we're not happy with the testing of the subscriptions. So I guess the additional piece of work there is update Shakar's MR, and so instead of using the query, just use subscriptions directly once we've entered chat into this sort of mix.
Aaron, do you feel like more devs would be helpful? Or do you feel like there's not enough work to split up?
Shakar, we can probably pick up what Shakar has and continue on with it. It was good to have Shakar jump on. But I think it's really just a matter of getting those MRs looked at. I have 2 or 3 MRs that I've split my work up into. And if we get those looked at, then we can continue on with the sort of controller changes to use the subscriptions and queries.
Is there anything that I can do to help with making sure that those reviews are, outside of finding an amazing team member who has more Lua skills, which I think we have, by the way, that was an earlier announcement. Anything I can do to help unblock or get a maintainer that knows Lua to come and help with some of these reviews. I don't want you to be blocked by a review.
Yeah, I actually seen another announcement recently as well with Dylan joining. So Dylan's actually done some contributions with the U of M. I was actually thinking about asking him to join as a maintainer recently. So, but no, I'm happy enough with the reviews I have so far. John, if you wanted to give another initial review, then I could pass it over to Dylan or anybody else available, and then I can just give it the sort of maintainer check and merge the rest of the U of M changes for things.
Cool. All right. Amy?
Dasha knows she's got MRs for me because it's a release day. We have things to say, and if we're saying things, that means a tech writer's got her fingers in it somewhere. So I have one more, Dasha, that I want to run by you quickly that you haven't already seen, but other than that, you've got what needs to go out.
Awesome. Thank you, Amy.
You're welcome.
And I think our last bullet is, I made an announcement, I think a couple of days ago, that we'll be experimenting with a point system to improve planning, effective 16/10. And just please assign a best guess point to all of the issues assigned to you. We don't have time for thoughts here in a sync way, but please put your thoughts there on ways that we can potentially make this better. I don't want you to think about time, although that's what the handbook says. We'll update that. This is your best guess of what you believe the work will take based off of your own definition for now until it's defined clearly by me through the handbook. And that's it.
Maverick, quick question on that. So we don't want to follow the one that Thomas kind of laid out in the handbook, or we want to what's, I guess, the guideline for the
I'm resistant
deviation?
to using time as a
Mm.
function of when something can be done. So saying something is easy because it takes a half a day doesn't mean it's easy. And saying something is hard because it took 3 days doesn't make it hard. There are some nuances in how I want us to define things. So for now, I want you to use your best guess estimate based off of how much work you think it will take and how difficult you think it will be to deliver. Just for this one, until I've defined them. You can use the time bit if that is what you think you want to point on. But until I'm very clear about how to do this, I've got to honor your best guess pointing for this one planning session. And then we'll have clear definitions on what a 1, a 2, a 3, and a 5 will mean. What I'm asking for is like a month of time to figure out the pointing system. But all of you, I'm sure, have used pointing systems in the past. So that's why I want you to use your best guess for now, and then we will clearly define it. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay. I think
All
that's
right.
it for us.
I know we're over time. I will try to do better and add more things beforehand so that everybody who's awake before me can at least take a look at it, because I do happen to do it pretty early on my time. But yeah, anything before we go or anything we want to add to the agenda async?
Have a
All
wonderful
right.
Thursday and a wonderful weekend, everybody. And see you next week.
All right.
See
See
you later.
everybody in Slack.